For 2 years following January 6, 2021, Jake Chansley was depicted as a terrorist by legacy media. He was ultimately sentenced to 41 months in prison. So thank you so much for coming in here today, Jake. We so appreciate this. You probably better know him as the J6 QAnon Shaman. Now, you don't have the big horns and the face isn't painted, but that is, everybody knows your face when you say it like that. So our audience is, I would say, uniquely still interested in January 6th. This is something that they definitely still care about. So walk us through your tour of the Capitol building that day and how it changed your life forever.
Well, it wasn't so much a tour. That is what the media likes to say because it gets some clicks, but it was more that I volunteered to help the police. When they were overwhelmed, I saw they were overwhelmed and I was like, hey, there's people in the Senate. If you want my help, I can help you clear the building, stop vandalism, violence, and theft. And they said, yeah, come on, let's go. So I said, okay, right? And that's why we went from locked door to locked door trying to get into the Senate, right? But that went totally against their narrative, didn't it? They needed my image to create the illusion that the chaos that happened outside the building also happened inside, because it didn't. It didn't.
What's wild about this is, I mean, the footage is very clear. I mean, at one point you're surrounded by 9 police officers and you're walking around with them. I mean, did at any point any of them stop you?
No. Why would they? The cops said, this guy's with us.
I mean, I can't imagine what it was like to see. I mean, how much of this coverage have you seen?
I'm not so vain as to watch it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I look back at just some of the coverage that we did see, right? And like you're saying, with the video footage, it was a very well-known thing that they tried to hide a lot of that video footage for a very long time. Tucker Carlson eventually got it, and he was able to play it on his show. But what kind of narrative were they trying to craft? And that eventually the truth will always come out, right, Jake? We know that. But in the meantime, they caused a lot of chaos and a lot of harm to very many people about that one day.
Yes. And it is a very small example, though it's very large in moral consequence. It is a very small example of what we can all look forward to if we allow the globalists, the communists, these woke people to get back in power. They have shown us who and what they are. We have to believe them.
Yeah, and so your journey here, I mean, you were used as the symbol, but I would say what was interesting about the coverage was it was almost like a Rorschach test for everyone watching, right? Because, yes. I mean, when I saw that, and I know I speak for a lot of members of the audience, I thought it was hilarious. I mean, my reaction was like, wait a minute, you're telling me that this guy is trying to, foment some kind of insurrection on the Capitol? Like, this is crazy. And it's almost like America saw 2 different stories depending on which narrative you believed. Where do you think this is going now? Do you think things have gotten better, that people know more about the truth of that day? Or is it still pretty much the same as it was, a divided country?
No, we are in a totally different country than we were in 2020 or 2021 or even in 2024. Right, we're in a very different, after Trump's assassination attempt, after he dodged that assassination attempt, everything changed. The culture shifted, and all of this other stuff as well, like the narrative about January 6th, when Tucker released that footage, everything shifted. So what we're seeing here is sequential shifts in the culture, and that is something that cannot be undone.
We've talked to many J6ers that have served, that were back in prison. And you served over 20 months, right, of the 41
I served 27 months behind bars. 10 and a half was in solitary confinement.
That's what I wanted to get to, because this is a theme amongst J6ers. The solitary confinement. Just take us through what that was like for you for 10 months.
Well, in all honesty, I can tell you that the days seemed like weeks seemed like months seemed like years. A part of me died in that cell. But that's okay, because that guy was weak and too trusting of the government, of the media. Now that I am on the other side, now that I have seen the distortions in the narrative, like what we were talking about earlier, and I have gotten a chance to see how distorted people's opinions are online, how distorted they are on television, it is a whole new world for me. because I was blind, but now I see. And that part of me that was naive is gone and dead. And I'm glad.
What has it been like since? I mean, since you had to do this is terrible. You know, everything that happened legally, you get out of prison, you go through all this. What has it been like since getting out?
Dude, God's been taking care of me the whole time. That's the coolest part. Like when I found out that they were going to throw, that they had a 25-year maximum sentence hanging over my head, when I got that, you know, that possible sentence or that guideline that they said, oh, these are the 2 felonies, I went back to my cell and I had a Bible and I said, God, I need you to speak with me now, because like you asked me to do this, you asked me to go through this, and now they're talking about 25 years. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to open this Bible. I'm going to point to a random verse, and I need you to speak with me now that you're with me. And so I did just that, close my eyes, open the Bible, point. And the verse that I pointed at said, I am yours and you're mine. I have redeemed you and called you by name, O Jacob.
That's incredible.
Oh, I know. Chills, you know, and I calmed down for about 2 hours and then I went back to freaking out. But the thing is, I couldn't help but think about that quote from the Bible when Tucker aired the footage, because I was called by name. I was redeemed publicly, and the false narrative just completely got obliterated, because I was told by people when I got on the outside that before that footage aired, questioning the January 6th narrative, even on the conservative side, was taboo. But after that was released, it fractured the narrative and that opened the door.
Yeah, we have our investigative journalist, Steve Baker, who is also one of the J6ers. Matthew Peterson and I were the 2 people there in the courtroom when he was chained up that day, going through some of his court trial. And I see what Steve goes through now, right? When he goes back to the Capitol and the police officers come up to him now and they're like, hey, thank you for your reporting. Thank you for everything that you've done. What is your encounter like when people figure out that you are you and they're like, oh, no, I know this guy. What's the reaction like?
Always positive. You know, think about it like this. The woke left is weak. Even if they do find out who I am, you know, they're not going to be as aggressive as they are online. And that's the thing that we have to understand about why the online culture is toxic, because it's very dehumanizing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So have you had occasion to talk to other people, you know, who were there? Are you still active with any of that? Basically, I don't want to call it a community, but it's everyone who happened to be there who's gone through a lot. You know,
the J6 community?
Yes.
No. What I did, because of Biden being in office when I got out, I was also on probation or supervised release, so I couldn't talk to any felons or anything like that without going possibly back to jail. So I just said, hey, I'm not talking to anybody. But what I did do is I got into spaces on X or Twitter, and I did interviews like up the wazoo as soon as I got out, and I just started talking and telling everybody what was going on. I've been trying to use what happened to me for the benefit of everybody, not just me.